Oh, that hurts. So how far are we taking this historical events? I'm not gonna be prepared for this route, am I? We returned to Edo to meet up with Nakakura and the rest of our forces who were at the Hatamoto mansion. Kondo-san, rather unexpectedly, was disconsolated from his first defeat on the battlefield, more so than most of the captains had expected. Even after he had returned to headquarters, he spent most of his time moping. I don't blame the man. Yoshinobu, the supreme commander of the shogunate army, was ordered out of the imperial court and into house arrest at the Kane Temple in Ueno. House arrest, a punishment inflicted by the government upon those who sought to undermine their authority with political expeditions. Kane Temple, a shrine dedicated to the Tokugawa clan. It was established by Iemitsu Tokugawa and founded by High Priest Tenkai in 1625. 6 of the 15 Tokugawa shoguns have been buried there. Well, that's interesting. The imperial court was now in the hands of the Satsuma and the Choshu, making it painfully clear that the loyalist faction was in a numerically untenable position. It is still March. I need water. I can't reach it, I got it! It still tastes like strawberry tea for some damn reason. I guess I should have washed it before I put new water in, but oh well. It'll taste faintly of strawberry tea. Sometime later, I was sweeping the entrance when I looked up to see Saito-san on his way out. Oh, Saito-san. Are you off to work? Have a good day. Without even waiting for me to respond, he gave a curt nod and was off. Bye, Saito! Saito had never been talkative, but lately he'd seemed exceptionally there's that word again. Taciturn, something. Perhaps he was still upset over what had happened. Oh right, this. Oh god, this has just happened, didn't it? Oh. Are you guys really leaving?
ああ、もう決めちまったんだ。俺たちと近藤さんじゃ目指してるものが全然違う。これから先一緒にやっていけるとは思えねえ。
It's going to be lonely here without you. What are you going to do now?
今んとこまだ決めてねえけど、これからも薩長と戦うってのは変わらねえぜ。
そのうち俺があいつらを何百人切ったって知らせがこっちにも届くと思うから楽しみに待っててくれよ。
そんじゃ元気でな。
You too. We'd been so close. It was sad to see them go. Then again, I'd only known them a few years. How sad their departure had to be for Kondo-san, Hijikata-san, and Saito-san, who'd known them much, much longer. And one more person who's not here right now. Okita's condition worsened, and he'd been moved to a separate house in Sendagaya. One by one, our friends from Shiei Hall were disappearing. Why had it come to this, I wondered. Cleaning suddenly felt particularly pointless. decided to go make some tea and see if Hijikata-san was in his room. Hijikata-san, I've brought you some tea. I opened the door as I spoke and stopped. Peeking halfway in, I saw Sanan-san and Heisuke. All three faces were set in hard lines. Whatever I had interrupted, it was serious. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you were in the middle of a meeting. I began to back away as quickly as I could when...
構わねえ。ここにいろ。
His words froze me in place. But before I could reply, Sanan-san spoke.
羅刹隊の増強を中止せよとは一体どういうことです？
そのままの意味だ。今後羅刹隊の隊士を増やすつもりはねえ。今いる人員で何とかしてくれ。
その命令には納得できません。今の新選組の兵力を考えると羅刹隊の増強は急務のはずです。先ほど東堂君から聞きました。長倉君と原田君が脱退してしまったと。彼らの離脱は相当の痛手です。新たな大使を募ったところで所詮は烏合の衆。敵が近づいてくればすぐに逃げ出してしまう。そんな者たちに期待をかけるより我々羅刹隊の力をもっと生かすべきではないですか。
I feel Heisuke on this. Heisuke looked down at the floor. He said nothing since I'd arrived, but it was clear that from his face that, fury or not, he didn't always agree with Sanan-san. I stood tensely, watching their cold, fixed gazes.
確かに兵力を増強することだけ考えるなら、羅刹隊を強化するのが一番手っ取り早いだろう。
ならばどうして？
だが羅刹には重大な欠点がある。これは信頼できる筋から得た情報だ。
You meant to tell Sanan-san that he'd learned from Amagiri.
羅刹の力の源はその人間の寿命だ。つまり力を使えば使うほどこの先生きていられる時間が短くなっちまう。
なんですって？
Ah. Sanan-san's eyes, usually so cool and calculating, went wide as saucers behind his glasses. Suddenly, he dropped to his knees as the realization of his powerlessness immediately registered to him. Ah, shit.
つまりやむを得ねえ時を除いて羅刹の力はなるべく使わねえに越したことはねえ。
The color had drained from his face. Silence filled the room for several long seconds before Sanan-san finally raised his head and spoke.
でしたらなおさら研究を進めるべきでしょう。研究を続ければその欠点を補う方法も見つかるかもしれない。それは羅刹となった君のためにも必要なことのはずです。
副長命令だ。羅刹の研究は中止してくれ。もちろん部隊の増強もなしだ。
Sanan-san said nothing. Instead, he simply glared at Hijikata-san as seconds stretched into minutes.
三男さん、行こうぜ。
He sat unmoving for a few more moments, until at last he sagged, defeated, and turned to Heisuke. There were lines in his face, perhaps proof that his life was already leaving him steadily.
わかりました。
Sanan-san and Heisuke had turned to leave the room when...
あれ、近藤さ こんなところで何してるんだ？
いや、ちょっと散歩に出ようと思ってな。たまたま通りかかっただけだ。気にしないでくれ。
I heard them exchange a few short pleasantries in the hallway, and then 3 sets of footsteps faded away. The room grew awkwardly silent. Hijikata-san sighed and let his gaze drift out the window. The tea's cold now. I'll go pour you a new one.
いや、喉が渇いているからな。これくらいでちょうどいい。
He took a sip and sighed again quietly, a distant look in his eyes. He'd taken on a tremendous workload, tiring him day in and out, and he looked drained beyond all reason. How hard had Nagakura and Harada's departure hit him?
新八と原田の足抜けは相当の痛手か。正論だよな。返す言葉もねえや。
His voice shook almost in... What is that word? What? Why is English like this? And why do they pick very big words that has a very simple one so I could understand them? And his mouth curled into a bitter smile as he spoke.
いずれこうなるだろうってのは覚悟してたし、あの二人に夢を見せてやれなかったのは俺たちの落ち度だ。にしても新選組も人が随分減って様変わりしちまったな。
I couldn't imagine what was going through his head. To be a leader and command the loyalty and obedience of tens or hundreds of men was something I couldn't begin to understand. Every night, he worked until the sun came up. It was painful for the Furies to be up during the day, but every day, Hijikata-san met with shogunate representatives. Even I could see the horrible toll it was taking on his body. What could I do for him? You can tell him to stop. Please, Hijikata-san, you have to stop.
やめろってのはどういう意味だ？
His voice was much harder than I expected, and it gave me pause. No, I thought to myself. This was something I had to say. I'm only telling you to do what you told Sun and Sun to do a few minutes ago. Don't use your fury abilities unless it's an emergency.
なんでお前にそんなことを指図されなきゃいけねえんだ？
Well, you became a fury because you were protecting me from Kazuma. If you hadn't fought a demon, then you'd still be a human now. You wouldn't have had to.
前に言わなかったか。俺は俺の意志で落ち水を飲んだんだ。誰に強制されたわけでもねえ。
When you say things like that, it just makes it worse. If you're in pain, please just say so. Can't you just tell me the truth? Don't you wish you'd never become a fury? For a moment, the room was silent, and then Hijikata-san began to laugh. Eh?!
かなわねえな、本当に。いや、お前も江戸の女なんだなって思ってよ。前に話したっけか。俺は玉の百姓の家の末っ子でな。親父もおふくろも割と早くに亡くなっちまったから、 4つ上の姉貴に面倒を見てもらってたんだ。その姉貴の喋り方がお前に少し似ててな。
Mitsu.
掃除の姉のミツさんも同じような感じだったな。
Mitsu, Soji Okita's elder sister, who serves as the Okita family's current head. After marrying her husband, the two chose to manage the family's estate. Their other sister, Kin, was married off.
身内に叱られてるみたいで、言うことを聞かなきゃならねえような気にさせられちまう。
Ha! Really? I never heard him talk about his childhood like that before. Or at all. It felt surreal.
あの天霧とかいう鬼が言ってた通りな。羅刹の力を使わなきゃ寿命が縮んだりはしねえってことだろ。本当にどうしようもねえくらい辛くなったらそういうさ。だから心配するな。
He'd likely keep most of his pain to himself. That was just who he was. But if it really meant that he would tell me when it became unbearable. All right, I understand. I take his word for it this time. So, what would the Shinsengumi be doing now?
とりあえず近藤さんに気合を入れ直してもらって北に行こうと思ってる。
North?
今の幕府は頼りにならねえが、東北諸藩が残ってる。会津、仙台が中心になりゃ、まだまだ戦えるはずだ。
Hold on! Who is responsible for writing tits on a bull? Who is just who the fuck is responsible for that line?
松本先生の手配で流山に武器弾薬、そして人を集めてもらってるんだ。そこで港合流して会津に向かう。
Nagareyama, you say?
仮に江戸を薩長に取られたとしても、奴らはいずれ京に戻らなきゃならねえはずだ。そうなったらすぐ江戸を取り戻して。
Suddenly his body twisted and hunched, and he grasped a hand to his suddenly heaving chest. Round 2. Hijikata-san's eyes bulged from his head in pain. Hundreds of sweat beads appeared all over his face. Hijikata-san, what's wrong? He only shook his head, unable to speak through the pain. I'd seen him like this before. Is it the bloodlust? He didn't respond, but I'd known he was right even as I asked. Say it with me now. We give him blood. Hijikata-san was in pain. I had no other choice. With steady hands, I unsheathed my kodachi and laid the edge against my fingers, ready to cut. But Hijikata-san's hand on my wrist stopped me. Why? Whoa. God fucking damn it. I thought I saw something on my mic, and I saw nothing. My brain is hallucinating. Why? The pain will go away if you drink blood. I tried to pull away, but he held fast and shook his head.
俺がやる。お前はじっとしてろ。
He moved around behind me and loosened my collar. Oh! I felt the cool air touch my neck, followed by Hijikata-san's fingers. He was looking for a place to make the cut. A moment later, I felt the kiss of the cold blade against my skin, and then, without a sound, I felt it sink in. I bit my lip at the pain, but said nothing. I just entrusted my body to Hijikata-san. Eventually. His warm lips touched the cut on my neck, and then I felt his face press against me as he began to drink. Again and again he drank, as thirsty as a man who had been stranded in the desert. I could feel his breath on my skin. It made me shiver. Never before had I been so close to a man. Nerves made my body begin to twist until Hijikata-san's hands grabbed my shoulders. When he spoke, his voice was low and husky. I realized suddenly that he didn't want me to see him in his furious state. Those few words at last strained defense of his wounded pride. A last strained defense of his wounded pride tore at my heart, and I felt a lump rise in my throat. For his sake, I did my best to calm my breathing, rapid from nerves and excitement. Though I did my best to hide it, there was no denying that my heart was beating faster and faster. Was he saying that to convince me? Or to convince himself? Of course. I understand. You don't have to hold back. I want to help. In whatever way I can. The day that I'd watched Inoue and Yamazaki die, I'd felt a horrible, torturous regret. There had been nothing I could do for them. Ever since, I'd cursed myself into being unable to help the Shinsengumi, after they'd sheltered me and protected me for so long. But now, at last, there was something I could do. I could ease Hijikata-san's thirst. I felt his grip on me tighten. Emotion washed over me. Guilt, disappointment, anger, regret. And I realized they were Hijikata-san's. His hands were warm. Eventually, he let go slowly and stepped away. His breathing had returned to normal, and there was color in his face again. No, there's nothing, see? The cut's already closed up. I'll be staying here for quite a while. So if you ever need me, please, just let me know. I nodded and he gave me a crooked smile. He was only joking and I knew it, but there was a part of me that felt if it was Hijikata-san who used me up, then maybe it wouldn't be so bad. I had to give it up. I couldn't keep it. I couldn't keep a straight face in that line. Alright. Back to default.